But we want to talk about a younger quarterback that's still trying to create his path or hopefully stabilize where he's going to be, and it's really out of his control. And that's Justin Fields. And the Bears are in a situation now, if we look at the draft list, and there's mock drafts coming out of what's going to happen. But the Bears, people are wondering, well, they lost to Green Bay. Is it the move to restart, take Caleb Williams and move on? Matt Eberflus has just announced he is staying put. Luke Getsky, their offensive coordinator, is on the way out. But this is what I found interesting. Everyone's saying reset the clock. Jay Cutler and Chris Long were on Inside the NFL talking about this situation. I want you guys to listen because I think it is a fascinating discussion, and then we'll dive more in to this conversation about Justin Fields.
And then you got Justin Fields addressing the Chicago media for what could be the last time. If you were general manager Ryan Poles, what would you do?
How much time we have?
4 months or
This is about as complex as they get. They got the first pick. They've got the 9th pick. You've got Caleb Williams. You've got Drake May, highly up there at 1-2, 1 through 5. And then you got Justin Fields going into his 3rd year. He's 10-27, 40 touchdowns, 30 picks. His 4th quarter stats are pretty bad. And the team's not that good. I don't know what they're going to do. What I think they should do is trade down, get some more guys on that team to help out Justin, and see what happens. Because let's plug in Caleb Williams on that team.
Yeah.
What happens?
If he's out there in that game with that game plan as many times as Justin had, because I looked, because I'm on Justin Fields' side here, because I'm afraid to take that chance with a guy in top 10. We've seen that since we've been in the league, drafting top 10 quarterbacks is a crapshoot. You could get a Jay Cutler where your guy gives you a chance to win, or you could get a guy who flames out in a year or two. I think when it comes to Fields, you watch that game, you try to put the sacks on him. It's hard to do it. Like, where's he going with that football in those situations?
You know, the offensive game plans have been pretty bad. He's on his 2nd coordinator already. Will they have a 3rd one next year? Who knows what's going to happen there? But then I think if you do trade, you've got to look in who you're going to trade to. You know, there's Washington, New England, Atlanta, Vikings, Denver. You know, there's a lot of teams out there that want quarterbacks. So I think if they do get out of there, they need to be careful who they do trade to. But I think if you blow it up and you start all over again with the number 1 pick, you might be sitting in a worse position than you are right now.
So I think that's very fascinating, and Rock will get you back in here. So if you're hearing Jay Cutler played in the NFL for a long time, Chris Long as well, they were defending the fact that they think Justin Fields, they need more around him. They like the ability that he has, and also that the number 1 overall pick or quarterbacks taking the top 10 aren't slam dunks. If we want to look at what was the 2020 draft, 2021, what was the draft with Justin Fields and Mac Jones and Trey Lance? Of all those quarterbacks from that draft, the only quarterback that's in the postseason is Trey Lance as a backup. And he's the 3rd string quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. So
was Trey Lance that year? Why am
I believe, Trey Lance and Mac Jones were in the same draft.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why I was blanking that.
And Zach Wilson, Rip.
Yes.
Yeah.
So of that list, so Rock, I mean, you heard it right there. Let's start with you. It's an interesting dynamic. And I heard people saying, oh, if you can get the 8th overall pick from the Falcons for Fields, I don't think that the Falcons would give up the 8th overall pick as it is. It's a really unique situation that they have. And that's been a lot. 2 coordinators already for Fields. The dude hasn't been in a great place to succeed in his career.
No, we talked about that. We said, back when we had the conversation about would you get rid of Justin Fields and try to take Caleb Williams? I think Chris Long hit it right on the head. He said that I don't know if you insert Caleb Williams into this situation, he basically said he might not be better than Justin Fields, because it's for Justin Fields, he has the talent. And we've seen it. I don't think this guy, I think he's better than mediocre. I think he could be a really good quarterback in the league. Now, I'm not sold that he could be a superstar at this point just yet, but that doesn't rule anything out. I think with Justin Fields, this was a guy last season, were we not having conversations about the way he was performing, that he could be a potential MVP candidate down the line with how talented he was, with what he was doing with his arm and his leg? And now we're just going to try to write this guy off 1 year later. I'm not a fan of doing that. I'm really not. I think Justin Fields could help the Bears win if they surround him with the right talent and they build around him. And that's what they're going to need to do, because Justin Fields, he has the talent himself, but this is the NFL. This isn't college football anymore. You cannot just solely win games by yourself. You need a good team around you. You need good coaching around you. And I think that's what the Bears need to do for Justin Fields.
I agree. So, Zach, because I know you have some thoughts on this with Eberflus now being retained, and players love him. You know, players do love playing for him. But the common theme is that the Bears have constantly been in this influx, and they cannot find a franchise quarterback for decades.
My biggest takeaway from the Eberflus news is that they better trade the first overall pick, because if the worst thing, and it would be such a Bears move to do, the worst thing they could do is keep Eberflus this year, draft a Caleb Williams, draft a quarterback first overall. Obviously, it would be Caleb, and then fire him after the first year and have to start over again. So when they kept Eberflus, in my head, that was them also committing to Justin Fields, because I think if they brought in a new head coach, you would want a new quarterback. He would want someone to be his guy. And if you brought in a guy like a Caleb Williams, I don't think you want to be in the situation where you're having your first overall pick also being in your head coach's go prove it year. Because the worst thing you could do we've seen it hurt guys like Justin Fields when they don't have that consistency.
Bryce Young.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's just when there's all this chaos just in your own clubhouse, own organization, it's hard to, reach your potential. So for Justin Fields' sake, I think this does kind of solidify in my mind that they're going to look to trade and hopefully get him weapons, because I think it would just be horrible for all parties if they keep Eberflus, go out, draft Caleb Williams, and now it's okay. You're now in the situation of, if they don't do well, do you keep Eberflus and have Caleb start over with just try to figure it out, or do you start over again?
It's a shit show right now, is what could happen. And just to give context, it was the 2021 draft that we were alluding to, saying with the quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence was number one overall, and you see those moments, but they did have a monumental collapse. Now, granted, Lawrence was banged up, but they were 8-3. They should be in the playoffs, and part of that is on the quarterback play, even though he was hurt. But Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, then you go down the list, Justin Fields, Mac Jones. I mean, if you're arguing the quarterbacks there, I mean, yes, Trevor Lawrence, obviously, I'm still in the Trevor Lawrence. I'm a believer in his talent and what he's going to do. But the rest of that list, Justin Fields was the best quarterback besides Trevor Lawrence. And a lot of people had him as the second best quarterback. Now, Kevin, we're looking at it right now. You've even said in the past, you would like to see them build around him because the intangibles are there. He's not what Lamar Jackson does, but he does have Lamar Jackson type of improvisation and the type of athleticism to do things that other players can't.
Yeah, and I know to a certain extent you can't bank everything on potential, but we've seen the flashes. And at this point, you're right. Drafting, and Chris Long said it, drafting quarterbacks in the top 10 nowadays is just, it's so uneven. It's so uneasy. And we've talked about lists here on this show before, where, again, what happens, and this, honestly, you can kind of relate it back to Lamar, where people were so devastated at the thought of Lamar leaving, because what if he goes to somewhere and he succeeds in a new offensive system, and then we're all sitting here saying, we knew it was possible, but why couldn't it have been in Baltimore? With Fields, I know he's not up to the level Lamar Jackson was at right now, but with that trade, I want to bring back the actual terms of that first pick trade that we saw last year. The Bears and Panthers swapped. The Bears moved essentially from 1 to 9. Along with the 9th pick, so moving back essentially 8 spots. They also got the 61st overall pick in the 2023 draft, what equated to the first pick this year, and then a 2025 second-round pick plus DJ Moore on top of all of it. So let's say they move back 8 spots again. Let's say they go back from 1 to 9, and who knows if they get a DJ Moore level caliber player at this time around. But you have Justin Fields. Go out there, whether it's Rashawn Johnson stepping up in year 2 or Khalil Herbert coming back. You have DJ Moore. Cole Kmet is there. You build some semblance of an offensive line around him. If I'm Chicago, I would want to see that. And a couple of other things with Fields is that, again, there are two sides of the story where Fields is going to be up for a contract in a couple of years and the 5th-year option and all that. Sometimes the best spot for a franchise would be, okay, let's just trade and reset. But the Bears aren't resetting here. They brought back Eberflus. And if it was a different conversation of let's go pair, like the Ravens did, John Harbaugh and Joe Flacco as a rookie coach, rookie coordinator, D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud as a rookie coach, rookie quarterback. I said coordinator, but I meant quarterback. That's what I think the Bears could do. But since they're bringing back Eberflus, the players seem to like him. I would just say get the value you can, and then you can have a consistent influx of guys on rookie contracts. Because what is it in today's league? It's in order to win, got a quarterback on a rookie contract. I'm not saying the Bears are going to go out there and win the Super Bowl this year, but I think it gives them a shot to at least see what Fields is with talent around him. Because let's say Fields goes to Atlanta with a new coach and with Bijan and Drake London and Kyle Pitts, and he balls out. People in Chicago would be like, man, why didn't we just give him one more year, give him the talent? That to me is where I'm looking as a Bears fan and saying, well, what about one more year?
Fields in Atlanta would be
it'd be so good.
Well, it'd be horrible because it would force me to take Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London, probably the first 3 picks in my draft, because I would be sold on all their potential like I am every year and just be disappointed probably.
Well, and Justin Fields, as far as for fantasy goes, he can be a fantasy monster when he's healthy and whatnot. But again, that's fantasy. We're talking about reality, and this is the part here, Mitchell, you bring up.
I agree with him.
Yeah,
I think that Caleb's ceiling is higher, and I think that he is going to be the better player. But I'm not sure if where the Bears are, it makes total sense, especially with now keeping Eberflus. I think it's better for them to, like Kevin just said, see what you have in Fields. I think we've seen those flashes. So it's like, okay, if we get him a good line, if we can build a nice receiving core around him, get a Marvin Harrison Jr. and to pair with DJ Moore, suddenly I think you have a lot more that you're looking at.
Well, I think this is the only part that I look at. And Caleb Williams, if you do go that direction, make sure you're lining him up with somebody that is going to put him in a good position to succeed. And the other part, the surefire that we're looking at talent, didn't people say that about Trevor Lawrence, Rock? Wasn't that a conversation that people said Trevor Lawrence is that can't miss prospect? And I think Trevor Lawrence is a great player. That's no knock. I think just the guarantee isn't a necessary guarantee. It was funny. Everyone thought this past year that Bryce Young was going to be that guarantee. Look at the situation he was put in. It was not a good situation. It's been brutal so far in Carolina, but the guy that everyone had a little bit more doubt on because of the test that he had to take, CJ Stroud. Yes, he went 2nd overall, but CJ Stroud is now considered, probably, if we're having a list of quarterbacks, you probably can't, if it's for me, Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, and CJ Stroud are the 3 quarterbacks I'd want to move forward with my franchise. I mean, but is that fair to say, Rock? Trevor Lawrence was that high of a graded player, and Caleb Williams is higher. I'm just trying to say it's not a slam dunk lock. Caleb's talented.
I'm still not out on Trevor Lawrence by any means, but
neither are we.
I believe. No. I know. I'm just saying, I think that there probably are some people that might be, but he was coming out one of the highest rated prospects, if not the highest rated prospects since Andrew Luck, grade wise, because it was like, all right, Trevor Lawrence, you cannot miss on this guy. You have to take him. And you're going to see that going forward with a Caleb Williams. And if they don't reach a certain potential by a certain time, people are already writing them off. So I think Caleb Williams is going to have a really great career, but we hope that he does. We don't know if he's going to until he gets on the field, takes that first snap, plays that first season, and then you can really evaluate the guy. But it's so hard, man. I would hate to be a scout or a talent evaluator or any of those jobs because God forbid you're wrong. It's a bad look on you, honestly. So, but Caleb Williams, I think all the hype is real for sure.
I think it's one more thing also. It almost could turn into a Kyler situation if you keep Fields and you bring in a new coach next year. It's what it could have turned into, because with Kyler, he's a Cliff Kingsbury guy. Cliff drafts him, and then they move on with Jonathan Gannon. And now the whole conversation as well, is Kyler really Jonathan Gannon's guy? And it creates all this drama. So when you talk about Bryce Young and they're going to hire a new coach, is that new coach, is that going to be a Bryce Young guy? Are they going to want Bryce Young, or are they going to try to trade him for what they can? And how much can you really get for Fields? I mean, could they get the 8th pick from Atlanta? I don't know. But is Fields going to fetch a late first, or what's that going to look like? I just think there's so much more value in trading the first, getting present and future assets, as opposed to trading Fields, maybe getting 1 or 2 assets here and there, because Fields has shown the potential. I just think it's better organizationally and better process to see what you have, as opposed to maybe take a risk while also getting back maybe 1 mid-tier to somewhat high-tier asset. You can get back 4 or 5 high-tier assets with a trade of the first pick here.